Welcome back. You're listening to the Mara Mkwenda Show on Slam Media, and joining me on the line is Nazia Saloojee, who is a life coach, and we are talking about the common painkiller being addictive. Assalamu alaikum, Nazia. Thank you for joining me once again.
Walaikum salam and jazakallah for having me once again.
Okay, so how are painkillers addictive, and what makes them addictive?
So, Mariam, we're facing a huge pandemic. Drug abuse was here long before any other kinds of pandemics threatened our well-being. And there are various substances which have various ingredients which make it so addictive. And when I say substances, I'm talking about painkillers, over-the-counter medications, sedatives, and certain stimulants. So, with substance abuse, there are three categories of substances or drugs. They are uppers or stimulants, downers or depressants, and hallucinogenics. These things do not necessarily mean illegal drugs like cocaine or heroin. These are things that you find over the counter that contains ingredients that are highly addictive, like codeine, for example. And we've seen this right in the past few years. We've seen students, basically follow the trend of lean or mixing codeine containing cough mixtures with Sprite, and then drinking it and getting high, and also selling it to other students. We've seen females, for example, get admitted to our rehab centers, and I say females because it's prevalent amongst females, or it's more common amongst females to abuse prescription medication, especially painkillers and sedatives.
Wow. So, how does someone get addicted to prescription drugs and the common painkillers?
So somebody gets addicted to prescription medication or painkillers simply by virtue of using, or using it to the point where they develop tolerance for it, which means they use more than the prescribed dose, or they use something that was prescribed to them from someone other than a doctor. And also, basically, it's self-medication, right? We have a huge problem with people self-medicating and then pharmacy hopping in order to ensure that they have sufficient stock.
Now, is it something that is in the mind, that somebody would tell themselves that, okay, I'm in pain and I need to relieve this pain of mine?
Yes, it is something called it's psychosomatic. So, for example, if I say to you that I have a headache right now, there are certain people who will, immediately say, I think I also have a headache, but they'll experience the symptoms, but it's not necessarily happening to them. So we have a lot of people who, for example, they would say a joke, for example, amongst us is tell every woman in the room to empty out their handbag, and you will find a whole host of medications. And the dangerous part is that they actually prescribe it to other people, saying that, okay, if you have a headache, you should try this because I use this, not knowing what that person is allergic to, not knowing what kind of medications they're on and how it could affect them. This is especially common with the elderly. We need to educate our elderly to say, do not share medication, and please ensure that you take medication in the prescribed doses and according to the right conditions. Like, don't take it with tea. You must have it with water. Have it after meals if the doctor says take it 3 times a day after meals. Also, do not increase or decrease the dosage according to the way that you are feeling, because this can lead to an overdose or an undertreatment of the condition.
hmm What does what are the effects of the addiction of being addicted to painkillers?
So we've got a whole host of psychological and physical effects. So, for example, with the psychological, you'll see mood changes. You'll see them having trouble concentrating with poor judgment and memory problems. Those are some of the psychological things. And then physical would be they cannot walk properly. It causes slurred speech. It causes, this person actually looks like they are slow to process information. And prescription medication is something that it's in all of our homes. And we need to watch, especially our teenagers, for these signs and symptoms, because they could be going to the medicine cabinets and actually, using using medication indiscriminately. And because it's in our homes, we think it's safe, but we generally not monitoring or supervising it, because drug addiction starts at home. Our first exposure, our first experience with the change of mood, with the medication, it was at home. So this is where we need to be most vigilant, and where it's actually, this is where it takes place.
Speaking about vigilance and the symptoms, how do you tell if someone is addicted to prescription drugs and painkillers?
Okay, so you will see them, basically it's the same as any other substance use disorder, right? So you will see them lose weight, for example. You will see them become very isolated from other people. You will see them, having trouble at work. They will be preoccupied with getting or stocking up on this medication, for example. You will see them buying a lot of it, and they get actually anxious when they don't have access to it. You will see them be very paranoid, like with other substances. You will also see them have insomnia, dependent on whether it's an upper or a downer. You will see them have insomnia or difficulty sleeping. They will neglect their appearance. And you know what? Eventually, everybody sees it in the process of addiction, where eventually somebody cannot hide that they are overdoing it with a substance. And in that case, you need to seek assistance, or you need to seek advice from your closest rehabilitation center or any addiction recovering specialist, or a substance use treatment professional.
Mm-hmm. Oh, what is the difference between a stimulant and a depressant drug?
So a stimulant is basically an upper. It is a drug that makes you feel, it accelerates the heart rate. It makes somebody feel very excited. They accomplish tasks at a, phenomenally fast rate. They're able to, you can actually see their pupils dilating. You will see that this person is actually very highly energized. But everything that goes up must come down. Eventually, they become very slow to respond, and they need more of the stimulant to keep going. With a depressant, you will see this person be very slow. You will see them be very, slow to respond. They will actually not have, that processing. Basically, you actually see how delayed their responses are when you speak, when you ask them to accomplish certain tasks. They're also very sleepy, and it leads to them being very isolated. And these people normally go looking for a stimulant. So if you have someone who's on a stimulant, they look for a depressant to bring them down. If somebody is on a depressant and they know that this is too low for them, they will look for a stimulant to bring them up. And this is where we find people actually using different substances, and it's like cross addiction, where they use different substances to at once to actually normalize or stabilize their mood swings, and also to hide the effects of the drugs. So for someone who's been partying the whole night and they want to come home, for example, they will use a downer so that when they come home, their loved ones do not suspect that they are on an upper.
Mm. Wow. Hey, now, what about your organs? What damage does being addicted to prescription drugs do to one's organs?
Okay, so as we spoke about the dizziness, the headaches, stomach cramps, difficulty concentrating, this is when you can see that it is the brain that's being affected. It is your small and large intestine that's been affected, the liver and the kidneys that has to process all the toxins that comes through your system. You're seeing vision. The vision becomes very blurry, so it affects your eyes. And people who take medication, for one thing, they know, and we should all know, that drugs have schedules. So when you go and buy it, it says S1, S0, S2, S3. Inside, there's a leaflet that says it is the warning signs, it is the precautions, it is the side effects, and it's the dosage. The side effects, they are obligated to tell us if you use it, it's going to affect this organ in this way. And we find that when you use too much of something, it damages something else, and you need a tablet or another form of medication to fix that. And it's a lot. It's very common that people overuse medication, and they don't necessarily follow the doctor's instructions, and that leads to them becoming addicted. For example, we see that people, if they prescribed a medication for 10 days and the doctor says, after 10 days, come back to me, people are like, no, I don't need to go back to the doctor. I think I'll just continue with this and I'll just go get it from the pharmacy. And that is where the lack of, information and obviously the side effects start taking its, rearing its head within your body. And you think you're fixing a problem. You might fix one problem, but you are damaging your organs to a larger extent on the other end.
And we don't even read the leaflets that comes with the medication. We just go ahead and take it, especially when it comes to self-medicating. It's just like, you know what, I'm used to this. I always take it. And or my friend said, like you mentioned earlier, prescribing it to one another. So if it works for her, I guess it could work for me as well. Or I want something stronger because my headache has not been going away for the past couple of days, instead of just going to the pharmacy. Or, I mean, the
Exactly.
doctor.
Exactly, and we replace the doctor with the pharmacist because we're seeing a lot of people, like we said, pharmacy hop. You're seeing people who, when the clinic prescribes them a certain medication, and maybe the company was out of stock, so they say, take this tablet. It is a different name, but it does the same thing. People
Mhm.
will buy that tablet, but then they will go to the pharmacy and they will ask for the very same medication, and then they will use both, and therefore they overdose on the tablet because they do not trust that this tablet does the same thing. So they go and they say, listen, I went to the clinic, they didn't have my tablets, can you give me the very same tablet? And you're seeing them overdose, and this is something that pharmacists have brought to our attention time and time again. I actually work at a rehabilitation center called Tranquility Clinic, and we have a lot of cases, and we liaise and connect with a lot of pharmacists who actually raise this concern that codeine addiction in itself is a problem. And then there is the overdose factor, that people are overdosing. People are not reading what the contraindications of medication are. People are sharing medication. People are using medication past its expiry date. So we need to be vigilant, especially with our elderly people, and educate them and continue to educate them on how to take medication, when to take medication, and when to stop, more importantly, because there are a lot of emotional factors involved in medication as well. Some people don't use medication for the right intended purpose. They use it because they say, if I take this tablet, I can sleep. Well, why
Mm.
can't you sleep? Let's explore the reason why you're taking it in the first place. And these are some of the awareness campaigns that we embark on, especially with women, because, like I said, we find it more prevalent amongst women. Dependence on sleeping tablets, dependence on pain medication, and codeine containing medication.
And there are a lot of tablets which have sleeping abilities, sleeping properties, and they easily make you sleep. But I hate feeling like that. Even if
Yes.
I'm in so much pain, I'd rather sleep the pain away instead of take a tablet that would make me sleep and would blur my vision or whatever. I'm a person who doesn't even like taking medication, so I try
Yes.
to just suck it up and let the pain go
Yes.
away. But now there's another problem which I find, with parents who have younger kids who are struggling to get the kids to sleep or so, and then sometimes they make jokes about it, but they actually do it. Like, no, just give him
Mhm.
Panado, just give him Allergex, and she'll sleep a little bit.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
What can we do in that instance?
I'm going to give you a very scary fact right now, Miriam. There are certain people who are born with the addictive gene. Addiction is something that can be genetic, meaning it's something that can be hereditary. If you are exposing your child to something addictive, like the medication you mentioned, you are the first person to expose your child to the effect of drugs. So, to those people, I say, read the contraindications. If your child is not meant to be using that, you should not be giving it to them. Find natural ways. If the child has a headache, try and put something topical, for example. Find age appropriate medication and do not go against the doctor's prescriptions for the reason that your child could have the addictive gene. and you exposing them to this new way of changing the mood or controlling their pain. When you are not there, what stops your child from going to the medicine cabinet and actually taking that medication themselves, and they do not know how much or when to stop? So you are putting your child at risk of overdosing. So it is
Mm,
advisable that parents be very vigilant and educate children that this is not for you. Even we have a habit of saying, I have a headache, fetch me this tablet. Now, when you're not
mm,
there, is your child not going to say, if mommy has a headache, and she takes this, when my head pains, right, I will go and I will take one. How do you know which tablet it is, what schedule it is, and what effects it can have on the child? So we have got to be very vigilant and more responsible when it comes to medication.
I mean, there is a reason why they say that this should not be placed in reach of children, which is why they also have certain bottle medications with the cap, which is difficult to open. It's because children are very curious creatures. They want to know what is happening inside that bottle. Why is mom or dad taking this year? And then I also want to feel like that.
Exactly. And remember, you are modeling a behavior. You are modeling a mood. You are saying, when mommy is stressed and I have a headache, get me a tablet. So the child starts
Mm,
learning, more importantly, a coping mechanism. It is a behavior learned. And a behavior learned becomes a habit and it becomes a lifestyle. So it is something that
mm.
we need to take more seriously.
Definitely. So where can people get help if they are addicted to painkillers?
Their nearest rehabilitation center. They can contact any one of the Sankas, for example. They can contact the South African Depression and Anxiety Group. They can contact rehabilitation centers like ours, and I'll give out our contact numbers. It's 011 782 3418. You can contact me directly on 082 779 5287, and it is very important for you to get help. Remember, this is beyond your control. This is something that, if your mind doesn't want it, your body wants it. That is the process of addiction. That is the disease of addiction. And I know that it is taboo in some communities, but it is happening, it is rife, and it is something that we need to face, because in the long term, you will become addicted. Your body will build up tolerance for the medication, and you will need more and more, and eventually you will need something stronger, until
Mm.
eventually you are completely dysfunctional in your life and in your home. And you've passed on a behavior to your child, you've modeled a behavior, and it becomes a lifestyle. And now we are raising potential drug addicts.
Well, we need to break the chain over there and, well, stop this addiction and get help. I know there's so many people out there who do not realize that they are addicted to painkillers. So it should start with them. Nazia, thank you so much for your time once again. It has been very informative, like Rabia Chand has said. Shukran for the information as well, and have a lovely day.
You too. Jazakallah, and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Nazia Saloojee, who is a life coach and also a drug and addiction counselor. If you would like more information on how to assist yourself or a family member who is addicted to painkillers, you can call 011 782 3418, or you can contact Nazia directly on 082 779 5287 for more information regarding the topic that we were just discussing, which is addiction to the common painkiller or prescription drugs. You are listening to the Mariam Kwanda Show on Salam Media, and we are also live on Facebook. We will be back after the break.